Silence. Good morning, students. In the last class, we discussed about the awareness correlation theory and the valency bound theory. We discussed naming of IPEC, naming of some complex compounds, how to write the formula from the name, and also how to write the name from the formula. We discussed in the last class. Also, we discussed about the awareness correlation theory. So, there we discussed that for the formation of a complex compound, the central metal atom is possessing two kind of valencies, primary valency and the secondary valency. The primary valency with the primary valency, the central metal atom forms its simple salts, whereas with the secondary valency, the metal atom forms its complex salts. And also we discussed that every metal atom is having a tendency to satisfy both the primary and secondary valency. The primary valency is non-directional, whereas the secondary valency is directional. It determines the geometry of the complex. Also, we discussed about the valency bound theory. In the valency bound theory, we discussed that for the formation of a complex compound, the central metal atom makes available a number of s, p, d vacant orbital according to its coordination number. And these vacant orbitals, s, p, d vacant orbitals are combining to give your equivalent hybrid orbitals, and these hybrid orbitals each is having a tendency to accept pair of electron. So, the ligands A per the coordination number are donating the electron pair to each vacant hybrid orbitals and the complex compound is formed. And from the structure, from the valency bound theory, we calculated the magnetic moment mu equal to root over n into n plus 2. And from the magnetic moment value, we decided whether the complex is paramagnetic or diamagnetic. So, we discussed about the inner orbital complex and also we discussed about the outer orbital complex. The inner orbital complex where we used the n-1 d with your ns and np, and the outer orbital complex where we used ns, np and nd orbital. So, and also we discussed about that means we discussed about the d2 sp3 hybridization and sp3 d2 hybridization how occurring in this complexes. We discussed about the octahedral complexes d2 sp3 and sp3 d2 with the coordination number 6. We also discussed about the tetrahedral and square planar complexes with the coordination number 4. We discussed how the tetrahedral complexes are formed with the sp3 hybridization, and we discussed how the square planar complexes are formed with your dsp2 hybridization. Okay. So, in the valency bound theory, what we observed that we were able to calculate the magnetic moment. The magnetic pattern we easily predict with the help of the valency bound theory. But why the complex compounds, the covalent compounds are colored? Generally, it is observed that almost all complex compounds are colored in nature. And this colored nature of the complex compounds couldn't be explained with the help of valency bound theory. Valency bound theory easily we predict the magnetic pattern, but it is silent about the colored nature. Because all the complex compounds, almost all the complex compounds are colored in nature, and why the complex compounds are colored in nature. So that couldn't be explained with the help of valence bond theory. So the new theory came called what is the crystal field theory. So today we will discuss about what is crystal field theory. Crystal field theory. Crystal field theory, CFT. So what is crystal field theory? According to crystal field theory, the complex compound is a purely 100% ionic compound. Okay. So for the formation of a complex compound, the central metal atom is surrounded by a number of ligands. Okay. So central metal atom is surrounded by ligands. Okay. Now here the central metal atom is taken for the positive charge or the cation. So we have the central metal cation surrounded by a number of ligands. Okay. Now this ligands can be what can be a negative ligand, or can be a neutral ligand. So this negative ligand is taken as the negative point charge. And this neutral ligand taken as part of the point dipole. Now what happens? So according to crystal field theory, there is a electrostatic force of attraction or coulombic force of attraction arising between the positively charged cation, metal cation, and the negative point charge. Or if we say point dipole, so it is having the negative pole and the positive end, and the positive end, and the negative end is directed toward the metal cation. Okay. So for this formation of the complex compound, so the positively charged metal ion is now surrounded by the negative ligands, which is called negative point charge. So there is a electrostatic force of attraction between the positive cation and the negative point charge, or there is a electrostatic force of attraction between the positive cation and the negative end of the point dipole. Okay. So as a result of which the complex compound is formed. So if I take N plus okay X, we have L. See, this is the metal atom M having a charge of N plus here. Okay. And to this we have the ligands L are the ligands attached here. Now, and this each ligand is having the negative end. So if it is a negative ligand, then the charge negative, no matter, negative 1.2, there is a force of attraction. Now if the ligand is a neutral ligand, so there will be the negative end of the dipole. The neutral ligand, so we have point dipole, that means we have a negative end and a positive end. Now between the negative end and the positive cation, so there will be a bond, and as a result we will get this complex compound. Okay. So that means there is no sharing of electron, there is no overlapping of avogadro, there is no hybridization, only electrostatic force of attraction between the metal cation and the ligand, so that results the formation of the complex compound. Okay. Now, when we say complex compound is formed, when complex compound is formed, due to this electric field, due to electric field or the repulsive interaction between the electrons of the ligands, the negative charges of the ligands and the electrons of the metal cation, there occurs a strong repulsion, and due to this repulsion the d orbital of the metal cation is splitting up into different sets. We know we have two type of d orbital, T2g set and EG set. Okay. So whenever we are having the complex formation of the complex, it may be octahedral complex, it may be tetrahedral complex, it may be square parallel complex. Okay. So on the effect of the electric field, by the effect of the electric field, this d orbital of the metal cation, that is T2g Eg, which are called your degenerate orbitals, the d orbitals are losing their degeneracy. The T2g and Eg splits up into two set of orbitals, one having low energy, other having high energy. Okay, that is called what you know, d orbital splitting. Okay, so as a result of the formation of the complex compound, we are having the electric field because we are having the electrostatic force of attraction between the ligand and the metals. Okay, now as a result of electrostatic force of interaction, we have to create electric field. Then after there is a repulsion between the what? Between the negative ligands and the electrons of the central metal cation. And due to this repulsion, the d orbital is splitting. Okay. Now let us see the d orbital splitting in octahedral complex. Okay. And splitting of d orbitals will be differ from your complex to complex. Okay. We have octahedral complex and we have tetrahedral complex. So splitting of d orbital in octahedral complex will be different from the splitting of orbitals in tetrahedral complexes. Okay. Let us first see the splitting of d orbital in octahedral complexes. Okay, how the d orbital is splitting, okay, in the octahedral complex. Okay, and this splitting of the d orbital also counts for the magnetic character and the color of the complex compound. Okay, see splitting of d orbital in octahedral complex. Splitting up d orbital in octahedral complex. Let's see. So already I told you that we are having the two type of d orbitals. We have dxy, dxz, dyz. We have dxy, dxz, dyz. This is called what you know? T2g set of orbital called the triply degenerate orbital. And also we have what you know? D x square minus y square and d z square. Called what you know? Eg set. Okay, Eg set called doubly degenerate orbital. Okay, so we have two kind of d orbital, T2g and Eg. T2g consisting of three d orbitals, dxy, dxz, dyz, and Eg consists of two orbitals, dx square minus y square and dz square. Okay, now in the octahedral complex, what happens you see right here, if I have a energy, so here you see T2g EG. Okay. Zero non-splitting state. Okay. So we have T2G and EG, 3 T2G and 2 EG pairs are there. Okay. You can say here your dxy, dxz, dyz, dx square minus y square and dz square. Okay. Now this is the normal state of the DF also, non-splitting state, and these 5 DF also are degenerate. T2G and EG type, what are degenerate? That means the energy of dxy, dxz, dyz, and the energy of d square minus y square and dz square all are same, called what? Degenerate orbital. But when a particular metal atom is forming a complex with the ligands, according to crystal field theory, after the formation of the crystal formation of the complex, the metal atom is losing its degeneracy. The D plus is losing its degeneracy. Now this orbital splits up into 2 sets. First of all, the T2G set in octahedral complex. The T2G set will experience a less repulsion with the ligand, because the dxy, dxz and dyz are lying in between the axes. So they will experience a less repulsion in octahedral complex, and they will lose energy, come to your low level. Okay. T2G and the EG set will express a higher repulsion, because these are in between the axis x minus y square. Okay, so these will express a higher repulsion, hence they will gain energy and will have a high energy. Okay. EG set. Okay. So the T2G set of energy, the T2G set of also will lose a energy of 0.4 del O, and this EG will gain a energy of plus 0.6 del O. And this is the total crystal field splitting energy del O equal to 10 dq. So there is a splitting of energy T2G and EG. T2G is losing an energy of 0.4 del O. It is expressing the less repulsion. Okay, whereas EG is expressing high repulsion, so and having the energy of 0.6 del O. It is gaining energy. Okay, so in this way the DF also are splitting up into 2 sets, T2G and EG. Now, when we are having the strong field ligands, this energy difference between T2G and EG is much more, and hence when we are giving electron, we are dissolving the Horn's rule. First we are giving electron to T2G, then we are going to EG. But when we have a weak field ligand, so first we are giving the electrons to T2G 1 1 1, then EG 1 1, then we are filling T2G 0, we are obeying Horn's rule. Okay, so you see, if I have the strong field ligand, so I have strong field ligand for 0. Suppose I have a D4 configuration, D4 if I give EG, then T2G, then EG. Okay, so we have D4, so 1, 2, 3, then 4. And if I have weak failure, okay, then D4 we water EG T2G, okay, EG T2G D4, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so T2G 1 1 1, then EG 1 for weak field ligand. For strong field ligand, so T2G 1 2 3 again 1, so 2 1 1. Okay, similarly D5 whatever EG T2G, we have 1 2 3 4 5, but here if I go for D5, I have what 1 2 3 4 5. If I have a D6, one, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But here I have what? If I have a D6, I have what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have D7. If I have a D7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And here I have what? D7. D7. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7. When I have D8 here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Here D8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So now D8 and D8 are same. So D4 to D7, D4, D5, D6, D7 configurations so are different from ligand to ligand. We have a strong field ligands, the difference is much more. So T2G first, then EG, and when we have the weak field, then T2G and EG as per Horn's rule. Here Horn's rule is violating. Okay. So now let's see the crystal field splitting in a tetrahedral complex. Okay. So what happened here in tetrahedral complex? In tetrahedral complex, the coordinate number of 4. So if I go for tetrahedral complex. So here what will happen? The splitting of the T2G and EG also will be reversed. Here you see the Eg will experience a less repulsion, okay, and will lose energy of 0.6. Okay, so here it will be what Eg 0.6, okay, and this is what T2G 0.4. Okay, so in tetrahedral complex, the T2G and Eg set of orbitals we are having. Now here the Eg set of orbitals will experience a less repulsion from the ligands, so they will lose a energy of 0.6 del O, less energy, while in the same time the T2G will experience a greater repulsion, okay, so they will have a higher energy and they will gain energy of 0.4 del O. Okay, so this is what will be splitting in your tetrahedral complex, and you can write delta T is equal to 4/9 del O. That means see the splitting energy in tetrahedral is very less as compared to octahedral. Delta T equal to what del T means del tetrahedral is equal to 4/9 del O. Okay, so here about what crystal field theory. Okay, now let's see. So with the help of this crystal field theory, we can explain the magnetic behavior. More the splitting, more will be the magnetic behavior. Okay, so the magnetic behavior depends upon the extent of splitting. With the increase of splitting, the magnetic behavior also increases, and also we can explain the color nature of the complexes with the help of the crystal field theory. Okay, so color in complex compounds. Color in complex compounds. So we know in a complex compound, according to crystal field theory, the d orbital is splitting into two set of energies, T2G and Eg. Okay, so because T2G and Eg are having two different set of energies, so there occurs transition of electron from one set T2G to Eg, that is called DD transition. So due to DD transition, the complex compounds are showing color nature. Okay, for example, if I write CuSO4 dot 5 water and CuSO4, see the CuSO4 is what is colorless, and this is what blue color. And this color of this compound is what CuSO4 5 water composable pentahydrate. Actually this is found in the form like this: Cu H2O whole 4 SO4 dot water. So the copper sulfur pentahydrate is actually found in the form of complex CuH2 whole 4 SO4 dot H2. So it's a complex compound. So because this is a complex, now this Cu, okay, is acting as a metal cation. It is bounded by the ligands, so there will be ligand and the metal cation interaction. There will be repulsion between the electrons of the cation and the negative charge of the ligands, and as a result of repulsion, the T2G and Eg set, the d orbital will split up into T2G and Eg set, and there is a transition of electron from T2G Eg. That transitions will be responsible for the color nature of this copper sulfur pentahydrate. Okay, so the complex compounds are colored due to what the DD transition. Okay, so this is all about complex chemistry. So next chapter we will discuss about d Broglie elements.